Hi, everybody. Welcome to our second episode of the Royle Group Weekly. It's your host, Ben Goheen, and I'm here to bring you local real estate news from the Quinte area. Every week, we break down the Quinte area and bring you local stats right to your home. This week's no different. We'll bring you stats from the Madoc area, and I've brought in my local representative and Royle Group agent, Elliot Hatfed. Thanks so much for joining us, Elliot.
Thanks for having me, Ben. I'm really excited to be here.
Elliot, for our viewers at home, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the real estate market?
I've been a real estate agent for just about a year now. I was in the restaurant industry for just under 25 years prior to this, doing basically all aspects of the food and beverage and service industry. And Travis Royle, good friend of mine, has been kind of hounding me for about a decade now to join him in this venture, and he finally reeled me in.
Fantastic. So working in the real estate or working in the restaurant business for so long, you must really know how to treat your customers.
Yeah, it's a key characteristic. It's not about dealing with customers or clients or guests. It's building relationship and friendships along the way. And
that's great. I'm so glad to have you here today, Elliot. So we're going to talk about Madoc. Where is Madoc?
So Madoc's kind of like a unspoken hidden little gem just north of Belleville. It's about 30 minutes north of Belleville. It's right on Highway 7. It has amazing access to multiple different little towns, cities, and bigger metropolis in the area. You could head west on Highway 7 to Marmora, to Peterborough. Now they have the 407 built to Peterborough, so you can easily access GTA, or you could go down the 115 to 401, or you can head east on Highway 7 and go to Tweed or Ottawa. Obviously, like I said, Belleville is about 30 minutes south of Madoc, and you got the up-and-coming cottage country of Bancroft about 45 minutes north of Madoc. So.
Bancroft's a huge booming market in itself, and it's nice to have Madoc so centrally located, a couple of hours to Ottawa east and back to Toronto on the west as well too, and then coming right into Belleville in the south isn't too far for people to commute to go to work or anything either. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, and Madoc's a little different from some of those other major towns or cities surrounding. Like it's made up of not such a close knitted home residential area. Like you got some space between each homes, you got some land, you have it's like I said, an up and coming area, and you got a lot more country, like lakes and rivers and farmland and just more areas to explore.
Sounds super cozy. I really like that. When you're talking about people moving in and out, what kind of demographic are you seeing in the Madoc area? What kind of people are moving in and selling there?
You have a lot of people coming up from the Belleville, Trenton area right now, as there's a lot of GTA or Ottawa people trying to invest in the Belleville, Trenton markets, which is raising the sale prices in that area. So a lot of Bellevillians and Trenton folk are moving up to Madoc and Marmora and Tweed, as you're getting a good bang for your buck. Plus, when saying that, you also have those investors that are investing in some of those towns on the 401 corridor, also investing up there because you're getting a larger piece of land, and they're looking at it as a great potential investment for down the road. And I also agree. I think, like I said before, it's a very up and coming area. Like you said, it's one of the most searched areas in Canada right now. And I think Madoc area is going to be very bright in the future to come.
Fantastic. I'd love to put a pin in the investment part of it. I want to pick your brain about it a little later and talk about some investing opportunities. Can you tell me what's happening in the market itself right now? What do the numbers look like in the Madoc area?
Much like you said last week in your podcast, it's the same thing. Like the market's a little bit slower right now, and not to scare people away when saying that, but obviously you got a lot of things going on with the pandemic right now, and slower doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. It just means that there's less buyers out there, and there's also less sellers. It's still a very balanced market because both of those have kind of came down at the same time. But again, there is some great opportunity in that area right now and the surrounding areas. And it just, much like any investment, you want to make sure you're doing your due diligence and your research and finding that hidden gem.
And you talked about activity dropping in the market as well. Same thing with the rest of the Quinte area. In comparison for stats for our viewers at home, what has the active listings and active in places sold? What are the numbers comparison to each other now?
So about the stats, so average days on the market in 2019 was 52 days, and now it's 101 days in that general area. The average sales in 2019 were 272,000 and change, and now in 2020 we're seeing a slight increase of up to 275 and change. So that increase is roughly about 1.15%. So there is some growth in the area, and much like I said, even though the activity isn't as strong as it was year over year, you are seeing a balanced kind of market because the people that are desiring to move and looking for homes, your buyers, aren't as much as well as you don't have as many active listings on the market right now. So they both kind of drop at the same time, but you're still seeing an average sale increase of 1.15%.
That's fantastic. I love that the prices are staying quite stable. You mentioned a drastic uptick in days on market. So if I came to you and wanted to list my house, normally with the 50-day market history, days on market history, I would expect my house to sell for a reasonable price in that time frame. So now, how do you talk to your sellers about the new days on market average and the uptick there?
Obviously, much like Ben, and other agents would know, there's a lot of tangibles when it comes to days on market. It just depends on the style of home, if it's the right kind of demographic of what is the strong point of what's selling at that time. A lot of the numbers based off of it being a bit of a smaller area and the lower amount of listings and sales that are happening, it really tends to skew the numbers if they're really up and down. But what I would say is obviously just make sure that you're presenting your house when it comes to listing, you're staging it properly, and we can give you advice with that. You're obviously doing any honey-to-do list to bring it to top level for listing and showing. And yeah.
It's a great point to make to kind of temper expectations. For those of you at home, days on market is the first day your listing goes active till when it goes firm. So it includes a conditional period as well in a deal if there is one. Most homes do. So when I'm talking to my clients, and the average in the market is, for example, in the Madoc area, 52 days on market before the pandemic or last year, we can expect your house to sell reasonably in that time frame. So normally I don't talk about a price adjustment or price improvement, as I like to call it, until that point. After that point, maybe we're priced a little bit too high if it hasn't sold yet. Now with an increase up to 100, that changes things a little bit, but still the expectation should be the same. If the average market is selling in 100 days, then you need to wait that long before you're talking about a price improvement at all. You want to make sure that you give your home ample time to sell so that you can maximize returns on it. Speaking of maximizing returns as well, Elliot, I'd love to pick your brain a little bit about investment properties and investing in the Madoc area. Do you have many people looking for places to grow wealth long term in Madoc?
I think it's much like if you're looking for an investment property prior to the pandemic or even during or after the pandemic. You want to make sure that you're finding the right property that suits your needs, that you're going to get a great investment return on it. I do have people looking for properties in the Madoc area right now for investment purposes. And a lot of it is really a lot of people looking for a large amount of land or property or vacant land and acreage as buying kind of a chunk of land and hope to see it come to fruition over the next 10 or so years.
So in Madoc, the investment strategy is more looking at land appreciation rather than a rental income, for example.
There's a mixed use, but I do have a lot of inquiries about land. Rentals aren't there as much as you would see them in maybe a bigger city, just because it's still a little removed from some of those bigger cities. But I think there is potential down the road, and there's always going to be rentals anywhere. There's just not as many coming on the market in that area.
So with the pandemic now, I know a lot of people are thinking that they're going to get a discount on a house or an investment property. Is it a good time to try and buy something during this pandemic?
Yes, I think it's a great time. I think as long as you're doing your due diligence and doing your research and running the numbers, I think there is no wrong time to buy an investment. There is a lot less on the market right now, as we discussed. But if an opportunity does come up, you got to be sure that you're able to react as quick as possible, because there are also many other investors looking for investment properties as well. So, yeah.
I love that notion about being prepared for the right investment. I know personally that when you are looking at buying an investment, you have to get your ducks in a row in the first place. There's multiple facets that go into it. You need to have a team ready to go. There's always going to be a real estate agent to help you out and find the right area that you need and the right property that you need, as well as doing a property analysis report for you as well. There's also a bank you need to be financed for your investment as well, and a contractor as well too. So if you plan on taking on one of those hats and wearing them for the project, you need to pick that out early and hire the rest out. You can't do it all. It's very difficult, and you're going to lose a lot of returns on the way as well too. So, and if you don't want to do any of it, that's fine. You can just be the investor yourself.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Ben. Having all your ducks in a row and make sure that your financing and your equity from whatever previous investment property or your home is ready to go, and making sure that you're able to react as quick as possible.
I love the necessity to be prepared. I have so many clients come to me who want to buy something right now, but we haven't done the legwork yet because they hadn't contacted me before. So getting ahead of it, if you want to buy something during the pandemic, before the government loosens restrictions as well too, it opens the floodgates for everyone else to come and buy something. You need to be prepared and start talking to the right people right away. So to recap today's episode, we talked about the Madoc area. We talked stats, we talked COVID pandemic, and we talked a little bit about cottage life and some investing. We do our local stats every week. We have a weekly stats page at theroyalgroup.c21.ca. Please do take a look at it. We're going to put the link, right here. Yeah, we're going to do it right here. So click on that, and you can follow us there and check your local stats in the area. We'll be back next week to bring you more local real estate news from the Quinte area. So stay tuned. We'll see you then. Before we go, though, I'd love to ask our viewers at home a question. We're going to pull this and get back to you the answers next week. But what I want to know from you is, has the pandemic affected your motivation to buy or sell in the market right now? So please do answer that question. Send it to the Royle Group at century21.ca email, or on our Facebook page, Instagram as well too, at the Royle Group and the Royle Group on Facebook.
Thank you guys so much for listening at home. And remember, you all deserve the royal treatment. Thanks.